Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video, we will start designing this model for our website using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Now I already have videos on designing a pop-up or a model for your website, but in that what happened is that once we click on the close button, the model or the pop-up will not be displayed ever again on that browser. But in this model, what we're going to do is once we click on this close button, we're going to set up kind of like a timer. So for example, if you set a timer of 1 day, once someone clicks on this close button, the pop-up will be hidden and then it will be displayed after 1 day. So we're going to do that using cookies with JavaScript, and this is also responsive. So if I decrease the width of the browser window, this is how it will look. So let's get started. Right here I have created this folder called model and I just opened it with VS Code. Let's go ahead and create the necessary files. Let's create a new file and I'll just name it index.html, and we also need to have a CSS file. So let's create a new file and I'll just name it style.css, and we'll also need a JavaScript file, so I'll just name it main.js. Let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code you have this shortcut where you can just press exclamation and press tab and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. And let's link our CSS file over here, so I'll just type link and press tab, and in the href I'll just type style.css, and here in the body I'll just link the JavaScript file, so I'll just type script:/src and press tab, and here I'll just type main.js. Right now let's go back to our design, and here we can see we have this background overlay for this model. So first of all, let's create that. Let's create a division with the class of model overlay, and we will style that using CSS later. Right now for this model, we'll create a division with the class of model, and in that the first thing we will do is create this shape. So we have this background shape over here. So for that, let's create a division with the class of bg shape, and we'll style that using CSS. And then we have this close button, so let's create a division with the class of close btn. And for the close button, we need to have this icon, so we will use Font Awesome for that. So first of all, let's get the CDN of Font Awesome. So you can just Google for Font Awesome CDN and you will find this website called cdnjs.com. So let's open that and let's copy the link of all.main.css. So let's click on copy link tag and let's go back to our HTML, and I just paste it over here inside the head section. And now the next thing we need to do is get the icon. So let's go to the Font Awesome official website, and here I'll just search for close, and here we can see we have this icon. Let's click on this icon, and this is the code that we need to copy. So let's click on it to copy it, and let's go back and I'll just paste it over here. Right now let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install that, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on open with live server, and here we can see that our design is displayed over here in the browser, and we have this close icon displayed over here. Right now let's go back to our design, and here we have these two sections. One is this left section where we have this text and this discount amount, and then on the right we have this information and this button. So let's create a division with the class of left for this left section. So here I'll just create a division with the class of left, and for the right part we will create a division with the class of right. Now in the left section, the first thing we need to have is this heading. So we have this text special sale. So let's create an S3, and here let's type special, and then for the next text we need to have sale, but this has a larger font size. So let's create an S3 and we'll also give it a class. So I'll just give it a class of sale text, and here I'll just type sale. And the next thing we need to have is this text. So let's create a division with the class of discount, and in that we will have this text over here. So we'll create a paragraph for that, and here I'll just type save up to, and then we have 45%. So for this also we have a different styling. So let's create a class for that. We will create a division with the class of discount %, and here I'll just type 45%. Right, that's it with the left section. So here we can see we have all these elements over here. Now let's move on to the right section. So here in the right section the first thing we need to have is this heading. So let's create an H2 and we will add the text inside that. Now here we can see we have this line break after the. So for that we'll create a BR tag after the. And if you go back to our website, here we can see we have this heading with 2 lines. Right now let's go back, and the next thing we need to have is this text over here. So for that I'll just create a paragraph, and I'll just type click below, and then we need to have this button. So for that let's create an anchor tag, and here in the href you can just add the link of the page. For now I'll just type hash over here. You can add the link of your product page over here, and I'll also give it a class. So I'll just give it a class of discount button, and here for the text I'll just type get discount. Alright, that's basically it with the HTML of our design. So here we can see all the elements are displayed over here. Now let's start writing the CSS, and we will make it look like this. So let's go to our CSS file, and the first thing we will do is style the overlay. So for the overlay we have this division with a class of model overlay. So here I'll just type dot model overlay. Now for the model overlay we need to have the height and the width to 100%, and we'll also set the position to fixed. So let's type position fixed, and we will set the height to 100 viewport height and the width to 100%, and we'll set the left position to 0 and the top position to 0. And let's add a background color, and we'll set it to RGBA, and here I'll just type 0, 0, 0, and for the opacity I'll just type 0.4. Here we can see we have this overlay displayed over here, and we'll also set the pointer events to none so that all the elements below the overlay can also be clicked. So here I'll just type pointer events none. Right now the next thing we will do is style the model. So for the model we have a division with the class of model. So let's type dot model, and even for the model we will set the position to fixed, and we need to bring it to the center of the screen. So for that we will type top, and we will set it to 50% and left to 50%. And now we can see that the model starts from the 50% mark. So now we need to add a line of code which is transform translate, and we need to set it to negative 50% x and negative 50% y. And now we can see it is exactly in the center. Now for the model we will also set a z index of, let's try 300 pixels, and we'll also add a background color, and we will set it to white. Now let's also add a min width, and we'll set the min width to 550 pixels, and we'll also change the font family to Roboto. So first of all let's get the link of the font Roboto. So here I'm in fonts.google.com, so let's search for Roboto, and let's click on the font, and we need to have 3 different styles of fonts. We need to get the light version for this text over here. So let's select this light 300, and then we need to select the regular version. So let's select this, and then lastly we need to select the bold version. So let's select this. Right now let's click on this button called view your selected families, and here we have this link which we can copy in our HTML. So let's copy this link, and let's go back to our HTML, and let's paste it over here in the head section. Right now let's go back to our CSS file, and let's add the font family over here. So I'll just type font family, let's set it to Roboto sans serif. Right now let's add a box shadow. So let's type box shadow, and we will add the values 0, 5 pixels, 26 pixels, negative 8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, and 0.3. And let's also add a border radius for rounded corners. So let's type border radius, and let's set it to 20 pixels. Right now let's style this close button. So for the close button we have a division with a class of close btn. So let's type model close btn, and let's set the position to absolute. Now this close button will be positioned relative to this model, and we will set the right position to 20 pixels and the top position to 20 pixels. Now for the close button we will set a font size of 20 pixels, And let's also add cursor to pointer, so that when we hover over this, we have this cursor. And we'll also add a padding. So let's tap padding and let's set it to 4 pixels. And now we can see we have this padding for this close button. Right now, if you go back to our design, we can see that we have the left division on the left side and the right division on the right side. So for that, we need to set the display to flex for the model. So let's go over here to the model, and here we will type display of flex. And now we can see we have this left division on the left and the right division on the right. Now first of all, let's style the left division. So for the left division, we have a division with a class of left. So let's type model left, and we'll set the background color to 242424, and we'll set the color of the text to white. And we'll also add a border radius. So let's type border radius and let's set it to 20 pixels. And we'll also add a box shadow, and let's set the values to 17 pixels, 0, 17 pixels, negative 8 pixels, RGBA 0, 0, 0 and 0.3. Let's also add a padding. So let's type padding and we'll set it to 24 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right. And we'll text align everything to the center. So let's type text align center. Right now let's style this S3. So let's type model left S3 and let's set the font size to 22 pixels, and let's set the text transform to uppercase, and we'll also remove the margin. So let's type margin 0. Now for the second heading, we need to increase the font size. So for the second heading, we have a class of sale text. So let's type model left s3.sale text, and let's set the font size to 36 pixels. Alright, now let's style this text right here. So for that text, we have a paragraph, and it is inside this division discount. So let's type model left discount P, and let's set the font size to 13 pixels, and we'll set the text transform to uppercase, and we'll also set letter spacing of 3 pixels, and let's change the text color. So just type color and let's set it to EBFF00, and let's remove the margins, and we will add a margin top of 32 pixels. Right now let's style this text right here. So let's go back, and for that text we have a division with a class of discount %. So let's style that here. Let's type model left discount %, and let's set the font size to 60 pixels, and we will set the font weight to 300. Alright, so that's basically it with the left section. Now let's focus on the right section, and let's go back to our code, and here we can see in the HTML for the right section we have this division with the class of right. So let's target that. Here I'll just type model right, and we will add a padding of 32 pixels, and we need to bring everything to the center vertically. So let's set the display to flex, and we'll also set the flex direction to column, and we'll set justify content and center. Now let's style this H2. So let's type model right H2, and we will set the margin to 0, and we'll set text transform to uppercase, and we'll set the font size to 24 pixels. Now for this paragraph, let's change the text color. So let's type model right, and for the paragraph we have a P tag. So let's type P, and let's set the color of the text to dark gray. And now let's style this button. So for the button we have this anchor tag with a class of discount BTN. So let's type model right discount button, and first of all let's remove the underline. So let's type text decoration, set it to none, and we will set a background color of FF5555, and here we can see we have a width of 100%. So it is because we had set the display of the container to flex. So for that we have to type align self, and we have to set it to flex start, and let's also add some padding. Let's type padding and let's set it to 8 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right. And let's change the color of the text to white. And let's set the text transform to uppercase. And we'll also set the font weight to bold. And we'll also add a border radius of 20 pixels. Right now the last thing we need to style is this background shape over here. So for that we already have this division with the class of BG shape. So let's style that. Here I'll just type model BG shape and let's set the position to absolute. Now this will be positioned relative to this model. We will set a height of 12 pixels and we'll set a width of 40%. And let's also add a background color and let's set it to linear gradient and we will set it to 180 degrees and for the first color we will set it to 04B6C1 and it is 0%, and then we will add a color 0E8A91 and it is 100%. So here we can see we have this shape. Let's add a border radius. So let's tap border radius and set it to 20 pixels and 0. Now let's position it over here on the top. So let's set the top position to negative 12 pixels and let's set the left position to, let's try 40%, and that looks alright. So let's start by creating a media query. So let's tap add media and we will set a max width of 600 pixels. So now when the screen width is less than 600 pixels, all the CSS that we have over here will be added to our website. Now the first thing we will do is we will place these elements one below the other. So this left part will be over here at the top and this right part will be over here at the bottom. So if you scroll up and if you go to the model CSS, here we can see we have set a display of flex. So let's scroll down and here we will target the model. So I'll just tap dot model and we'll set the flex direction to column. And now we can see that these elements are one below the other. And if you scroll up, we can see that we have set a min width. So here we can see we have set a min width of 550 pixels. Now we need to change this in the mobile version. So let's scroll down and here we will just type min width and we will set it to 300 pixels. Now for the mobile version, I don't think that this shape is looking good. So if you go to our index.html file, here we can see we have added a division with the class of BG shape. So that's what we see over here at the top. So let's hide that in the mobile version. So let's type model BG shape and let's set the display to none. And the next thing we will do is we will change the color of this close button. So for the close button we have this division with the class of close button. So let's type model close button and we will set the color of the text to light gray and we'll also change the right and the top positions. So let's set the right position to 8 pixels and the top position to 8 pixels. Now the next thing we will do is we will position these two headings in the same line. So if you go back to our index.html file, here we can see in the left division we have this S3 with this text special and then we have another S3 with this text sale. So what we will do is we'll create a division around this. So I'll just call it discount text. So we'll just give it a class of discount text and I'll just close this after these two headings. And now let's style this discount text. So let's go back to our CSS and here we'll just type model left discount text and we will set the display to flex. And now we can see that both these elements are one next to the other. We'll also add a gap between them. So let's set the gap to 8 pixels and we'll also type justify content to center so that it is in the center. Now we will have the same font size for these two headings. So here we can see we have this S3 and we also have an S3 with the class of sale text. So let's target both of these. Here I'll just type model left S3 and we'll add a comma and let's type model left S3 with the class of sale text. And let's set the font size to 24 pixels and that looks alright. Now let's target this paragraph. So if you go back to our HTML file, here we can see inside the discount division we have this paragraph. So let's type model left discount P and let's set a margin top and let's set it to 20 pixels. Right now let's style this section over here. So it has a division with the class of right. So let's type model right, and we will set a padding of 24 pixels, and we'll also text align everything to the center. Now let's target this heading. So in the right division we have an H2. So let's type model right H2 and let's set the text transform to none. And if we go back to our HTML, we can see that we have this BR tag over here. Now if you have a BR tag, it will add a line break to your text. So let's remove this in the mobile version. So here I'll just type model right H2 BR and let's set the display to none. And now we can see it looks alright. Now the last thing we will do is style this button. So for the button we have this anchor tag with the class of discount BTN. And if we scroll up, we can see that for the discount button, we have set the align self to flex start so that we don't have 100% width for this button. But for the mobile version, we need to have 100% width. So let's go back and let's target the button. So let's type model right discount BTN and let's set the align self to auto. And that's basically it with the mobile version of the model. Now let's add the functionality using JavaScript. Now the first thing we will do is display the model after 2 seconds after the page load. So what we will do is we will add a class called active to this model when we want it to be displayed. And we will remove the active class when we don't want it to be displayed. So let's scroll up to the CSS of the model. And here for the model, by default we will set the opacity to 0. And we'll also set the transform translate to a little lower in the y-axis. So here I'll just type calc and here we'll type -50% -10 pixels. Now we'll also set the pointer events to none so that we cannot click on the model when it is not being displayed. So let's type pointer events and set it to none. And let's also add a transition so that we will have smooth animation. So let's set it to all 400 milliseconds ease. Now let's create the active class. So let's type model.active. And when we have the active class, we will set the opacity back to 1. And we'll set the pointer events to auto. And we'll set the transform translate to -50% and -50%. And we will do the same for the model overlay. So if we scroll up, we can see this is the CSS for the model overlay. So here we'll just type opacity and set it to 0. And here also we'll set the transition to all 400 milliseconds ease. And let's type model overlay dot active and let's set it to opacity 1. Alright, now let's add the JavaScript. So if we go back to our index.html file and if we scroll down, we can see that we have already linked our JavaScript file over here. Now in our JavaScript, we need to access some of these elements from the HTML. So we need to access the model because we need to add the active class. We also need to access the model overlay and we also need to access the close button and also the discount button over here. So let's reference all of that in the JavaScript. So here I'll just type const model equals document.querySelector and we have a division with the class of model. And let's type const model overlay equals document.querySelector model overlay. And then we have the close button. So let's type const close btn equals document.querySelector and here we'll just type model close btn. And then we have the discount button. So let's type const discount btn equals document.querySelector model discount btn. Right now let's create a function to display the model. So let's create a function called display model. Now in this function we need to add the active class to the model and the model overlay. So let's type model.classList.add and we'll set it to active and we'll type model overlay.classList.add and here we'll just type active. Now we need to display this model after 2 seconds after the page load. So let's create a set timeout and for the timeout let's type 2000 for 2 seconds and here we'll just call the function. So let's type display model and now if you save this, we can see after 2 seconds we have the model displayed over here. Now the next thing we need to do is when we click on this close button or on this get discount button, we want this model to be hidden. So let's type close btn dot add event listener and we will listen for the click event and let's create an arrow function over here. And here we just need to remove the active class from these two elements. So let's type model.classList.remove active and model overlay.classList.remove active. And now we can see we have this model displayed over here. Let's click on the close button and we can see that the model is hidden. And if I refresh this page, after 2 seconds we have the model displayed over here. We will add the same code to the discount button. So let's copy this and let's paste it down here, and I'll just change this to discount BTN. Right now the next thing we will do is create a cookie so that once this model is displayed, it should not be displayed for a specific amount of time. So for that, let's create a function, and I'll just call it create cookie. Now to create a cookie using JavaScript, you have to type document.cookie, and you have to set it to the cookie. So you have to type equals, and here you have to add the name of the cookie, and you need to add a key value pair. So let's name the cookie live blogger popup, and we'll set it equal to displayed. And then the next thing we will do is add the max age for the cookie. So I'll just create a variable for that. I'll just create a variable called max age, and we'll set it equal to this string semicolon max hyphen age equals, and here you have to add the max age of the cookie in seconds. For now, let's set it to 10 seconds, and we also need to add a path. So let's type let path equals, and here we'll just type semicolon path equals /. Now you have to add these two text inside this cookie text over here. So let's type plus max age plus path. Alright, now the next thing we need to do is call this function create cookie. So we'll call it inside the display model function. So here, after adding the active class to this model and model overlay, let's call this function create cookie. So let's type create cookie. Right now let's save this, and here we'll just right click over here and click on inspect, and let's go to application, and if you go to cookies, here we can see that our cookie is displayed over here, and it will be active only for 10 seconds. So let me just refresh this page, and if you go over here to console, and here if you just type document.cookie, here we can see that the cookie is displayed over here, and if you wait for 10 seconds the cookie is not being displayed. Let's do it once more, and here we can see we have the cookie displayed, and after 10 seconds the cookie will be removed. Right now that we know that the cookie is working alright, let's add an if condition over here in the display model. So here we will check whether the cookie is already available. So let's type if, and we need to type document.cookie.indexOf, and here you have to add the name of the cookie. So our cookie name is live blogger popup. So let's type live blogger popup. Now if you don't have this cookie, then it will return -1. So let's type -1 over here, and let's add all this code inside this if condition. Now what will happen is that this display model function will check for this cookie, and if the cookie is not available, then the model will be displayed, and if the cookie is available, then it won't be displayed. And I'll just change the set timeout to 0 for testing it better. Now let's save this, and now we can see we have this pop-up displayed over here, and now if we refresh this page, the pop-up is not being displayed. But if we wait for 10 seconds, which is the max age that we set for the cookie, and now if we refresh this page, the cookie will be displayed, and if you refresh this page once again before 10 seconds, the cookie will not be displayed. So in this way you can go ahead and add any amount over here. So if you want to set a max age of 2 days, you can just look up for how many seconds are there in 2 days and just add the seconds over here. So that's how you create a model for your website using HTML, CSS and JavaScript using cookies, where you have a timer for your model. So I'll just change this timeout to 2000, which is 2 seconds. Alright, this is my Blogger website, and we're going to add the model to this website right here. So let's go to the dashboard of our Blogger website. Now if you want to add this model to any of your posts or pages in your Blogger website, you can go to those posts or pages, and after going into the post or the page, you can just add the code over here. First of all, you have to go to the HTML view and just copy and paste the source code over here. But we will add the model to the website as a whole. So for that, let's go to the theme, and let's click on this arrow and click on edit HTML, and let's go to our source code. So this is our source code, and I will leave the link of the source code in the description. The first thing we will do is we'll copy the link of the font and also this font awesome icons. So let's copy everything from here till here, and let's paste it over here inside the head section. So this is the head section, so I'll just paste it over here. Now let's add the CSS. So let's go back to our source code and let's go to the style.css file, and let's copy everything from here and let's paste it over here. So if you scroll down, here you can see the CSS of the theme. So let's go to the end of the CSS, and here I'll just make some space and I'll just paste the CSS over here. Now let's go back and let's go to our index.html file and let's copy the HTML. So I'll just copy everything from here till here, and let's copy it and let's go to the end of the theme code, and here just before the body ends I'll just add the HTML. And now let's also add the JavaScript. So let's create a script tag over here, and let's go back to our source code and let's go to the main.js file, and I'll just copy everything from here and let's paste it over here. Now if you take a look at this JavaScript code, here we can see this is the max age of the cookie. So this is basically the timer that we're going to set for the model. So right now it is set to 10 seconds. Now you can change this to whatever you want. So if you want to set it to 2 days, you can just look for how many seconds are there in 2 days and just add that over here. And then if you scroll down, here we can see this is the delay for the model at the beginning. So right now it is set to 2000, which means 2 seconds. So this model will be displayed 2 seconds after the page load. Now if you want to change this, you can just change it over here. You can change this to whatever you want. If you don't want any delay, you can just set it to 0. Right now let's click on save. And here we can see we have some errors in our code, so we have to go to line number 10. And here we can see we have some problems with the cross origin attribute over here. So let's just delete this. And now let's save it once more. And now we have another problem on line number 12. So this is line number 12. And here we can see we have this ampersand symbol. So whenever you have this ampersand symbol in an XML code, you have to change it to ampersand AMP semicolon. And let's click on save. And now we don't have any problems in our code. So let's go to our website and let's refresh this page. And here we can see that our model is displayed over here, and we have some problems in the styling. We don't have the correct Z index for the overlay. So let's right click over here and click on inspect. And if you scroll down, here we can see this is the model overlay. So let's click on that. And here we need to add a Z index. So let's type Z index. Let's set it to 100. And let's see whether it solves the problem. So I think it solves the problem. So let's add a Z index of 100 to the model overlay. And I think we can also increase the darkness of the model overlay. So let's go back to our theme code. And let's go to the CSS, and here we can see this is the CSS for the model overlay. So let's add a Z index over here, and let's set it to 100. And here for the background color, let's set it to 0.7 for the opacity. Right now let's click on save. And let's go back to our website and let's refresh this page. And now we can see that the model overlay is displayed over here. Now for this text we need to have white color, and for this text we need to have dark color. So here we can see we have this dark color and this white color over here. So let's change the colors in our CSS. Let's go back. If we scroll down, here we can see for model left S3 we need to set the color to white, and on the right side we have an H2. So for this H2, let's set a color of black. And let's save it. Right now let's go back to our website and let's refresh this page. And now we can see everything looks alright. So that's basically how you add a model to your Blogger website. Now you can go ahead and add the link of whatever page you want over here in the get discount button over here. So if you go back to our source code, and if you go to the index.html file, here we can see this is the button, this anchor tag. So instead of this hash, you can just add the link of your page, and you can also change the text of the button, the text of the headings and all of that over here. Alright, so that's basically it for this video, and I will also leave the link of the source code in the description so you can go ahead and check that out. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below, and if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.